Takes place in a charming section of London called Cherry Tree Lane in the year 1910. Mr. Banks, a widower, lives with his 3 children, Jane, Michelle, and Bobby Banks, and their aunts, Tilly and Millie. He comes home from his job at the fiduciary bank, confident that his household is being managed, only to find that things at home are actually in a bit of an uproar. The children's nanny, frustrated at not being able to control the brood, has quit her job, and the children are running amok. The 2 aunts, who are in fact truly devoted aunts, are running off to a woman's suffragette meeting, which they simply can't miss. Precisely on schedule.
I feel a surge of deep satisfaction, much like our king, astride his noble steed. When I return from daily strife to hearth and pike, how pleasant is the life I lead. I run my home precisely on schedule. At 6:01, I walk through the door. My slippers sherry and pipe are due at 6:02. Consistent is the life I lead. It's 6:03, and the hares to my dominion are scrubbed and tubbed and adequately fed. And so I'll pat them on the head and send them off to bed. How lordly is the life I lead.
Okay, come on in, Ian.
Children, what on earth is going on here?
Katie and Anna left us. And Tilly and Aunt Millie has gone to their soldier meeting. I'm hungry.
This will never do. We must find you a new nanny immediately. A British nanny must be. The future empire lies within her hands. And so the person that we need to mold the breed is the nanny who can give commands. A British bank is run with precision. A British home requires nothing less. British discipline and rules must be the tools. Without them, what a ghastly mess. Now off to bed. I'll put an ad in the newspaper for a proper nanny. We'll have this household back to normal in no time.
Proper nanny. I don't want a nanny who looks like a general.
I don't want a ghastly mess.
I want a ghastly mess.
Well, why don't
My great own that. Jolly good, jolly good. Jolly good, jolly good. Jolly good, jolly good.
Sit down, sit down. If you want its choice position,
Have a cheerfully disposition.
cheeks. No words.
Play games, all sorts.
You
Must be kind, you must be witty, very sweet and fairly pretty. Take us on outings, give us treats. Sing songs, bring sweets, never be cross or rude. Never give us castor oil or gruel. Love us as a son and daughters, and never smell of barley waters. If you won't scold and dominate us, we will never give you cause to hate us. We won't hide your spectacles so you can't see. Put toads in your bed or pepper in your tea. Hurry, many, many thanks, sincerely, Jane, Michelle, and Bobby Banks.
The day arrives on which Mr. Banks will hold interviews for the new nanny, and the weather is quite windy and blustery. Many stern and proper applicants line up the front of the Banks house, but it seems they cannot stay on their feet. The wind, as if by magic, blows them all away. As the children watch in amazement from their upstairs window, Mary Poppins blows into town and lands in front of the Banks house using her umbrella as a parachute. She knocks on the door, applies for the job, and being the only applicant, is hired on the spot. She promptly goes to the nursery to introduce herself to the children.
You're the name we advertised for.
Mary,
Can you teach us how to fly with an umbrella?
Joe, can you play games?
Can we play games?
No, I think I'll first teach you how to clean your room.
We don't
We don't want to clean our room.
But if you think of it as a game, it'll be fun. Just watch. In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You'll find the moments that the job today. And as you undertake, becomes the piece of cake. Oh Lord, the three is very clear to see. That a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. Medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. The biggest nest has very little time to rest while gathering his bits of try and queen. But there yet this pursuit, he has a merry toot toot toot. He knows the song will move the child along. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. Medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. The honeybees, the fetch nectar from the flowers to the comb, never tire of buzzing to and fro. Because they take a little nip from every flower that they see, and yes, they find their task is not a grind. For a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. Medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. Since you've done so well cleaning up your room, I think we'll take a bit of an outing in the park. Maybe we'll meet my friend Bert there. He's a very entertaining fellow indeed. Good. I know what I like, I like what I do. I'm a screamer, and as you can see, a screamer's an artist, highest degree. And it's all me own work from your man. too. But the earth would be glad of a comfort or two.
Well, hello, Bert. These are the Banks children.
Yes, I've seen them in the park. How do you do? Do you know that when you ignite Poppins, magical things can happen? Really? Really? Like what? Take a look at these pictures, for instance. When you ignite Poppins, magic, you can dance right into them. Which one would you like to pop into? The circus.
No.
No. The zoo.
No.
The red one.
All right, children. Now all you have to do is think, wink, double blink, close your eyes, and jump.
Oh, it's a jolly holiday with you, Bert. Gentlemen, with you are few. Though you're just a diamond in the rough, Bert.
Oh,
What are we doing? Oh, yeah. The hallmark of your creed. Our Lady in fear when you are near. Fishy gentility could lovely. Oh, it's a jolly holiday with you, Bert. Jolly, jolly holiday with you.
Now let's take a horse to the racetrack.
These aren't real horses. We can go up the merry-go-round. Wink, wink, and wink.
Yes, of course we can. All right, children. Now just remember, think,
Wink.
wink, double blink, close your eyes, and jump.
She's sorry. What do you have to say for yourself, young lady?
Well, I'm supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
What did she say?
Fragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm the little one who I'm the little one who I was afraid to speak when I was just a lad. My father gave me news and drink and told me I was bad. But when one day I learned a word that saved me aching nose, a big word you remember, and this is how it goes. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Traveled all around the world and everywhere he went, he'd use this word and all would say, there goes a clever gent. With dukes and maharajas pass the time of day with me.
say me a special word and then they ask me out to tea. Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So when the cat has got your tongue, there's no need for dismay. Just sum it up this word and then you've got a lot to say. But better use it carefully or it can change your life. One night a fellow said it to his girl, and now the girl's his wife. Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. 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 Look, it's starting to rain.
That's the end of our outing. The chalk picture is being washed away. Soon we'll be back in the park. Bye. Bye.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us today, Bert. Maybe we'll have another adventure tomorrow. Bye.
I'm too excited to go to sleep. Can't we play some more games?
I'm not tired.
I'm not tired.
Stay away, don't rest your head. Don't lie down on your bed while the moon still outside. Stay awake, don't run around. The world is fast asleep. Though you feel already, you're not sleepy as you sleep. Stay awake, don't run and breathe. Stay awake, don't
The next day, the children go on another outing with Mary and Bert. This turns out to be an even more fantastic adventure than the day before. They visit Uncle Albert, whom they find floating on the ceiling. It seems that whenever Uncle Albert laughs, he starts to float up. The harder he laughs, the worse it gets. The children, Bert and Mary, find his laughter irresistible, and as they start to laugh, they find themselves floating up on the ceiling. Well, they end up having a hilarious tea party on the air, and Mary uses her magic to have the tea table float up to join them. That night, the children tell their father all about the various outings and end up relating the joke Uncle Albert told them. Pause.
Here's one with the man is the wooden leg named Smith. What's the name of his other leg?
Children, that's enough of your nonsense. A British bank is run with precision. A British home requires nothing less. Tradition, discipline, and rules must be the tools. Without them, what a ghastly mess. And I'm disturbed to hear my children talk about popping in and out of chalk paper pictures, starting with racehorse persons and having tea parties on the ceiling. If they must go on outings, these outings must be fraught with purpose, yes, and practicality. These silly words like superca,
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yes, well done, you said it. They must learn the honest truth. Despite their youth, they must learn
About the life you lead in your footsteps to tread your straight and narrow path of pride. Tomorrow, just as you suggest, dress and press. The children will be at your side.
And set out with her father to visit the bank. Each has been given a tuppence to open a savings account. On the way to the bank, the children see the bird woman sitting on the steps of St. Paul's selling crumbs for people to feed the birds. Mary Poppins has told the children the story of the bird woman, and they stop to listen as she sings her song.
Her display to the people she calls in her own special way. Come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. The young ones are hungry, their nests are so all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries. While overhead the birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see them, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a
The bird one. I want to feed the bird.
Bobby, me too.
Me too.
No, children, you must come into the bank and invest your tuppence.
Mr. Bank's boss, Mr. Skinflint, waits to meet the children and take their tuppence on deposit.
Hello, children. Your father told me he was bringing new customers to the bank today. So nice to see you. If you invest your tuppence wisely in the bank, safe and sound, soon that tuppence safely invested in the bank will compound, and you'll achieve a sense of conquest as your affluence expands in the hands of the directors who invest as propriety demands. Tuppence thriftily, trustingly, frugally invested in the, to be specific, in the Dawes, Cubs, Mousely, Grubs, Fidelity, Fiduciary Bank. When you invest your tuppence in a bank account, soon you'll see that it blooms into credit of a generous amount, semi-annually, and you'll assume a sense of stature as your influence expands in the high financial strata that established credit now demands. Poppins patiently, trustingly, carefully invested in the, to be specific, in the Dawes tubs, mousely crops, fidelity, fiduciary bank. Give me your tuppence. Give me your tuppence.
I won't let go.
Give me your tuppence. Give me your tuppence.
No, I mean I'm not. I want to feed the birds.
Sweet, sweet. Screamed and fought for their tuppence. The other bank customers looked on with horror. Many depositors became concerned about their money and started withdrawing their savings. This caused a run on the bank. The children ran away not knowing what they had done, but knowing that it was very serious. They ran through the streets of London feeling very alone when they suddenly ran into a scary figure dressed in black.
Hey, it's only your friend Bert. What are you doing out alone?
We ran away.
We ran away. Well, I just saw your nanny. I think I can fetch her for you. Mary Poppins!
Children, what happened?
He went away. I don't know.
Daddy is very angry.
Daddy's angry.
Joel, I wanted to feed birds.
I want to feed Lord.
Well, I'm sure everything will be all right. Let's sing a song. That'll make us all feel better.
Jim Jiminy, Jim Jiminy, Jim Jim Jimmy. A sweep is as lucky can be. Jim Jiminy, Jim Jiminy, Jim Jim Jimmoo. Good luck will rub off when he shakes hands with you. Or blow him a kiss, and that's lucky too. Now as the ladder of life has been strung, you may think a sweep's on the bottommost rung, though he spends his time in the ashes and soot. Under this old wide world, there's no happier blue. He chooses his bristles with pride, yes he does. A broom for the shaft and a brush for the flue. Though he's covered with soot from his head to his toes, a sweep knows he's welcome wherever he goes. Up where the pillars are all grillered and curled, between pavement and stars is the chimney sweep world. And there's hardly no day, and there's hardly no night. There's things half in shadow and halfway in light. On the rooftops of London, crew, what a sight! Chimney, chim, chim, chiroo, Jim is glad, you're in glad company. Nowhere is there a more happier crew than them what sings chim, chim, chiree, chim, chiroo. Chim, chimney, chim, chim, chiree, chim, choo.
Let me take you all home now. I'll try to straighten things out with your dad.
Mr. Banks in his study.
They're going to let me go at the bank. I see the bank director tonight and he gives me my walking papers.
Life's the wrong boat, Governor. Even though you don't.
You know what I think? It's that woman, Mary Poppins. Ever since she came here, everything's been topsy-turvy. She even tricked me into taking the children to the bank.
Mary Poppins? Even though you don't have time to take your children on an outing, or dry their tears, or talk to them, they still think you're a pretty great dad.
Really? Well,
He starts to think about what Bert said. Perhaps he didn't spend enough time with the children. Perhaps he had been too strict.
Well, I'm sorry to have to do this, Banks. You've been with the bank for a good many years, but you know we have no choice in the matter. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
well, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
What's that?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Say, did you hear the one about the man with the wooden leg named Smith?
No, what's his other name? I haven't done that in years.
Well, it's our time. Let's go.
With tuppence for paper and string, you can have your own set of wings. With your feet holding tight, you're a bird. With your wrists holding tight to the string of your kite. Oh, let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's go fly a kite and send it soaring up through the atmosphere, up where the air is clear. Oh, let's go fly a kite. You send it flying up there, all at once you're lighter than air. Into the trees with the buzzes and trees, your feet holding tight to the string of your kite. Oh, let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's go fly a kite and send it soaring up through the atmosphere, up where the air is clear. Oh, let's go fly a kite.
Let's have some quick curtain calls, sir.
Get up there, Jordan, with your...
One big one.
Very, very good.
Great.
Wasn't that though?
That was terrific. Oh, great.
I think we did better in the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Oh, you think so? Well, I don't see how,
You
but...
took care